My twin sister showed up at my door at 2 a.m., her face so swollen I almost didn't recognize her. When she lifted her shirt and I saw the cigarette burns, the bruises in the shape of handprints, the cuts that were still bleeding, I made a decision that would change both our lives forever. We were going to switch places, and her husband had no idea what was coming. My name is Maya, and this is the story of how I became my sister for 3 months and destroyed the monster who tried to destroy her. But before we get into this insanity, hit that like button and drop your country in the comments because this story gets darker than you can imagine, and I want to know where you're all watching from. Let's begin. People say identical twins share everything. The same face, the same DNA, sometimes even the same thoughts. But Mira and I, we were never the same. Not really. We grew up in Portland, Oregon. Same parents, same schools, same teachers who could never tell us apart. But where I was fire, Mira was water. Where I fought back, she folded. Where I raged against injustice, she accepted it with quiet tears. I wasn't always like this, though. Angry, aggressive, ready to throw punches at anyone who looked at me wrong. When we were 14, something happened that split our lives into before and after. We were walking home from school, taking the shortcut through Riverside Park like we always did. 3 guys, older, maybe 17 or 18, started following us. Catcalling, making disgusting comments about what they wanted to do to the twin sluts. Mira grabbed my hand. "Just ignore them," she whispered. "Walk faster." But they got closer. One of them grabbed Mira's backpack, yanking her backward. She fell. I heard her cry out, and something inside me snapped. I don't remember much about what happened next, just fragments. The feeling of my fist connecting with someone's face, the sound of bone crunching, blood on my knuckles, someone screaming, maybe me. When it was over, one guy was on the ground with a broken nose. Another was holding his ribs and crying. The third had run away. Mira was safe, but I was changed. The school called it aggravated assault. Never mind that they'd attacked us first. Never mind that one of those boys later admitted they'd planned to drag us into the bushes. All anyone saw was Maya Anderson, the violent girl who put a boy in the hospital. My parents were devastated. They sent me to therapy, to anger management, to every specialist in the city. The diagnosis was always the same: intermittent explosive disorder, uncontrolled rage, danger to myself and others. By the time I was 16, I'd been in 3 more fights, each one defending someone, each one leaving me with a worse reputation. At 18, after I hospitalized a guy who was beating his girlfriend in a parking lot, the court gave me a choice: prison or treatment. I chose treatment. Riverwood Psychiatric Facility became my home for the next 8 years. A white room with bars on the windows, medication that dulled everything, group therapy with people who'd done far worse things than defend the helpless. But I never regretted it, not once, because Mira was safe. That's all that mattered. She visited me every month for 8 years, every single month, rain or shine. She'd bring cookies she'd baked, books she thought I'd like, photos of her life outside. In year 3, she brought a man. "Maya, this is Caleb Wright," she said, her voice soft and uncertain. We're dating." I studied him through the glass partition. Tall, clean-cut, worked in finance. He smiled, but it never reached his eyes. There was something cold there, something calculating. I picked up the phone. "Mira, can I talk to you alone?" She hesitated, then asked Caleb to wait outside. The moment he left, I leaned forward. "Don't marry him." "What? Maya, you just met him." "I don't care, don't marry him. There's something wrong with him." "I can feel it." Mira's face crumpled. "You always do this. Every time I'm happy, every time I try to move forward, you find something wrong with it. Maybe the problem isn't everyone else, Maya. Maybe it's you." Those words cut deeper than any knife. "I'm just trying to protect you," I whispered. "I don't need protection. I need a sister who's happy for me." She stood up. "I'm going to marry him whether you approve or not." She did. 6 months later. I wasn't allowed to attend the wedding because I was still institutionalized. The next time I saw her, she was pregnant. "We're having a girl," she said, her hand on her swollen belly. "I'm going to name her Hope." For a while, things seemed okay. Mira's visits were full of baby stories, nursery preparations, dreams of motherhood. She glowed. But then hope was born, and something shifted. Mira started wearing long sleeves even in summer. She'd flinch if I moved too quickly during visits. The light in her eyes dimmed month by month. "Is everything okay?" I asked during one visit when Hope was about 6 months old. "Everything's fine," she said automatically, "just tired. You know how it is with a baby." I didn't know, but I knew my sister, and I knew she was lying. "Mira," I said, "I'm fine, Maya. Can we please just have a normal visit?" So we did. We pretended everything was fine. We talked about books and TV shows and everything except the bruise I could see creeping out from under her collar. For 3 more years, I watched my sister disappear. Each visit, she was a little thinner, a little more withdrawn, a little more dead behind the eyes, and there was nothing I could do about it. Because I was locked up. Because everyone thought I was the dangerous one. On my 26th birthday, the doctors finally cleared me for release. 8 years of good behavior therapy, medication management, and anger control. I was deemed no longer a threat to society. My parents picked me up. We barely spoke during the drive to their house. 8 years had created an ocean between us. "Mira wants to see you tomorrow," my mom said as we pulled into the driveway. She said she'd come by around lunch. "How is she?" I asked carefully. My mom's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "She's fine. Caleb takes good care of her." The way she said it, I knew. I knew my mother saw what I saw, but like everyone else, she'd chosen to look away. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my childhood bedroom staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars Mira and I had stuck on the ceiling when we were 10, and I made myself a promise. If Caleb had hurt her, if he'd laid even one finger on my sister, I would make him pay. I didn't care if I went back to Riverwood. I didn't care if I went to prison. Some things are worth the consequences. At 2 a.m., someone knocked on my window. I shot up, heart pounding. My room was on the second floor. Who the hell? I pulled back the curtain and almost screamed, "Mira!" Hanging onto the old oak tree we used to climb as kids, tears streaming down her face. I yanked open the window. "Oh my God, what are you? Help me!" she sobbed. "Please, Maya, help me!" I pulled her inside. In the lamplight, I finally saw what she'd been hiding for 3 years. Her beautiful face was destroyed. One eye was swollen completely shut. Her lip was split open. There were bruises around her throat in the shape of fingers. When she lifted her shirt, I saw cigarette burns, fresh and old. Bruises in every color from fresh purple to fading yellow. 3 long cuts across her ribs that were still bleeding. "Jesus Christ," I whispered. "Jesus Christ, Mira, how long?" "Since Hope was born," she said, her voice hollow. "He changed after Hope was born. He said I'd trapped him, that I'd ruined his body, ruined his life. He started. She couldn't finish. I pulled her into my arms, careful not to hurt her. She was so thin I could feel every bone. She smelled like fear and blood and that cheap soap Caleb probably made her use. "We're calling the police," I said. "No." She pulled back, panic in her one good eye. "No, Maya, you don't understand. He's friends with half the precinct. He golfs with the captain. Last time I tried to report him, they didn't even take a statement. They called him to come get me. And when we got home..." She touched the scar on her collarbone. "I can't go to the police. They won't help me." "Then what? What do you want me to do?" She looked at me, really looked at me, and in her eyes I saw something I'd never seen before in my gentle sister. Rage. "Switch places with me," she said. "What?" "We're identical. No one can tell us apart. You go be me for a while. Live in my house. Deal with Caleb. Do what you do best." Her voice got stronger. "And I'll stay here. I'll be Maya. I'll rest. I'll heal. I'll take care of Hope where she's safe. And you make him pay for what he did to me." I stared at my sister, sweet, gentle Mira, the one who'd never hurt a fly, the one who always saw the best in people. "You want me to hurt him?" I said slowly. "I want you to destroy him," she whispered. "I want you to make him feel every bit of pain he gave me. I want him to know what it's like to be afraid in his own home. I want him broken, Maya, completely broken." A slow smile spread across my face. Okay. Okay? Yeah, let's do it. I grabbed her hand. Tell me everything, every detail about your life, about Caleb, about the house, everything. We stayed up until dawn. Mira told me about her daily routine, about Caleb's schedule, about his habits and triggers and the twisted rules he'd created for her. She told me about his mother, Patricia, who lived with them and was just as abusive. About his sister, Rachel, who visited every week to torment her. She told me about Hope, sweet 3-year-old Hope, who Caleb mostly ignored, but who Patricia treated like a servant in training. He doesn't hit Hope, Mira said. Not yet, but he will. I know he will. That's why I finally ran. I can take it, but I can't watch him hurt my baby. Our baby, I corrected. Hope is my niece, which means she's my responsibility too, and I promise you, Mira, no one will ever hurt her again. We worked out the details. Mira would stay at our parents' house, hidden in my old room. She'd pretend to be me, newly released from Riverwood, readjusting to life. Our parents barely paid attention to either of us anymore, so they wouldn't notice the switch. I would go back to Mira's house in the morning after Caleb left for work. I'd be Mira, the broken, submissive wife, until I wasn't. There's one more thing, Mira said as dawn light crept through the window. You need to know how bad it gets, what he's really capable of. Tell me. She did, and with every word my rage grew hotter, sharper, more focused. By the time she finished, I wasn't just angry. I was a loaded weapon pointed directly at Caleb Wright's head. I'm sorry I didn't believe you, Mira whispered. When you said not to marry him, you were right. You've always been right. Don't, I said. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. Promise me something, she said. Promise me you won't go too far. I don't want you back in Riverwood. I don't want you in prison. Promise me you'll be smart about this. I looked at my sister, at the woman who'd been systematically destroyed by a monster who promised to love her, and I made a promise I wasn't sure I could keep. I promise. At 7 a.m., Mira helped me get ready. We dressed in her clothes, did my hair like hers, practiced her mannerisms. She taught me how she walked, how she talked, how she made herself small. Remember, she said as I prepared to leave, never look him directly in the eye. Always say yes, sir. Dinner must be ready exactly at 6:30 p.m. The house must be spotless. Don't speak unless spoken to. And if he raises his hand to me, I interrupted, he'll regret it. Mira smiled, a real smile. Give him hell, Maya. Count on it. I drove Mira's beat-up Honda to the address she'd given me. A nice house in the suburbs, the kind with a 2-car garage and a lawn that was maintained twice a week. The kind of house where neighbors waved and no one suspected the horror happening behind closed doors. I used Mira's key to open the front door and stepped into my sister's nightmare. The first thing I noticed was how cold it was. Not temperature cold, but emotionally cold. The house was immaculate, every surface gleaming, every object in its place. It looked like a magazine spread. It looked like no one actually lived there. The second thing I noticed was the smell. Bleach, strong enough to burn my nostrils. Mira had scrubbed this place within an inch of its life, probably terrified of what would happen if Caleb found even a speck of dust. I walked through the house, slowly taking inventory. The living room, white furniture, glass coffee table without a single smudge, remote controls lined up with military precision, photos on the wall of Caleb looking successful. Only one photo included Mira, and she looked like a ghost beside him. The kitchen, spotless. I opened the refrigerator. Caleb's protein shakes took up the entire top shelf. Fresh vegetables and expensive cuts of meat below. On the bottom shelf, pushed to the back, a single container of plain yogurt and some withered grapes. Mira's food. I checked the pantry. Same story. Caleb's protein bars, supplements, organic everything. In the very back, hidden behind boxes, a bag of rice and some canned beans. He'd been starving her. The rage simmered hotter. Upstairs, I found 3 bedrooms, the master, a guest room, and Hope's room. Hope's room was pink and frilly, full of toys that looked like they'd never been played with. Everything was arranged perfectly, like a display. There was a small bed with princess sheets, a dresser with locked drawers. What kind of sick bastard locks a 3-year-old's drawers? And no mess whatsoever. This wasn't a child's room. It was a showroom. The guest room was Patricia's domain. I could tell because it smelled like her perfume, something floral and sickly sweet. There was a leather chair by the window where she probably sat and judged everyone who passed by. The master bedroom made my skin crawl. King-sized bed with expensive sheets. Caleb's side was clearly defined. Alarm clock, phone charger, expensive watch on the nightstand. Mira's side was empty except for a single lamp. I opened the nightstand drawer on his side. Condoms, pills I didn't recognize, a notebook filled with numbers that looked like gambling debts. Mira's nightstand drawer was locked. I picked the lock with a bobby pin, a skill I'd learned from a kleptomaniac at Riverwood, and opened it. Inside, a bottle of prescription pain pills, nearly empty. A folder full of hospital records, emergency room visits for falling down stairs and kitchen accidents. A small notebook filled with dates and descriptions written. In Mira's handwriting, March 3rd, broke 2 fingers because dinner was cold. Told Hope I shut them in a door. April 15th, punched in stomach for talking too long on phone with Maya. Miscarried, didn't know I was pregnant. Caleb said it was for the best. May 22nd, cigarette burns on lower back for not ironing his shirt properly. Patricia watched and smiled. Page after page of horror. Years of abuse documented in my sister's shaky handwriting. I sat on the bed, clutching that notebook, and I felt something inside me go very still and very cold. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about justice. At 5 p.m., the front door opened. I heard voices. "Mommy! Mommy!" A little girl's voice. I went downstairs. Hope stood in the entryway, holding Patricia's hand. She was small for 3, with Mira's dark hair and big brown eyes. She wore a little dress that was too fancy for daycare, probably something Patricia insisted on. Patricia Wright was exactly what I'd imagined. 60-something, perfectly coiffed silver hair, designer clothes, and a smile that never touched her eyes. "There you are," Patricia said, looking me up and down. "I see the bruises are fading. Make sure you use the concealer I bought you before Caleb's work dinner tomorrow. We can't have you embarrassing him again." I bit my tongue, hard. "Yes, ma'am." Hope was absolutely dreadful at daycare today. They said she wouldn't share toys. Obviously, she gets that stubbornness from your side of the family. Patricia pushed Hope toward me. "Deal with her, and dinner better be perfect tonight. Caleb had a stressful day." She swept upstairs to her room, leaving me alone with Hope. The little girl stared up at me, her eyes wary. She was used to being afraid, used to walking on eggshells. I crouched down to her level. "Hi, Hope." "Hi, Mommy." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Did you have fun at daycare?" She nodded, then immediately shook her head, confused about what answer I wanted to hear. My heart broke a little. "It's okay," I said softly. "You can tell me the truth." "A boy took my toy," she said. "So I took it back. Teacher said I was bad. Grandma said I was bad. Am I bad, Mommy?" "No, baby, you're not bad. Standing up for yourself is never bad." She looked at me strangely, like I'd spoken a foreign language. How many times had Mira been forced to tell this little girl to be quiet, be small, be good? How many times had Hope learned that defending herself was wrong? Not anymore. "Come on," I said, standing up. "Let's make dinner together." At 6:25 p.m., I heard a car in the driveway. My whole body tensed. Caleb was home. The front door opened. I heard his keys hit the table, his briefcase thud on the floor. "Mira," he called. "In the kitchen," I responded, making my voice soft like Mira's. He walked in. I finally saw him in person. Tall, fit, handsome in that generic corporate way. Expensive suit, expensive watch, expensive shoes. He looked like a man who had everything. He looked at me and frowned. "Why is Hope still awake?" I thought we could eat dinner together as a family," I said, remembering to stammer like Mira did. "Did I say we were eating as a family?" His voice was sharp. "No, sir." "Then why would you assume?" He walked closer. I could smell his cologne, expensive and suffocating. "I had a terrible day, Mira. Terrible. and I come home to find you've already broken a rule. I'm sorry, I whispered, even though the words tasted like poison. Sorry doesn't fix it. He looked at the stove. What's for dinner? Chicken with roasted vegetables and chicken again? Did I not tell you last week I was tired of chicken? He had not, according to Mira's notes, but logic didn't matter here. I'm sorry, I repeated. I'll make something else. No time for that now. I'm hungry. He sat down at the table. Serve me. I plated his food, hands shaking with suppressed rage, not fear. I set it in front of him. He took one bite, made a face. Overcooked, dry. It wasn't. I'd followed Mira's recipe exactly. I'm sorry, stop apologizing. He slammed his fork down. All you do is apologize and screw up. What's wrong with you? Hope whimpered from the corner where she was sitting. Caleb's eyes snapped to her. Did I say you could make noise? The little girl went silent, tears streaming down her face. Something in me snapped. She's 3 years old, I said. Caleb's head turned slowly toward me. What did you say? I met his eyes, held his gaze. She's 3. She's allowed to cry. The temperature in the room dropped to Arctic. Look at me when I'm talking to you, he'd said 100 times before to Mira. But this time I was looking, I was staring, I was challenging him, and he didn't like it. He stood up slowly. You've got quite a mouth on you tonight. Do I? He moved faster than I expected, grabbing my arm and yanking me close. His breath was hot on my face. Don't test me, Mira. You know how this ends. Yes, I did, with Mira bruised and broken and terrified, but I wasn't Mira. Let go of me, I said quietly. Or what? He squeezed harder. What are you gonna do? Call the police? They all know you're crazy, unstable, making up stories. I repeated, let go. For 3 months I would play this role. For 3 months I would be the perfect victim, documenting everything, gathering evidence, building an unbreakable case. But not tonight. Tonight, Caleb Wright would get his first warning that things had changed. I twisted my arm using a technique they'd taught us in Riverwood for restraining aggressive patients. His grip loosened in surprise. I stepped back, out of reach. Don't touch me again, I said. His eyes widened. In 3 years, Mira had never fought back, never resisted, never said no. What did you just... You heard me. Patricia appeared in the doorway, drawn by the commotion. What is going on here? Your son, I said calmly, just grabbed me hard enough to leave bruises, in front of his daughter. I didn't... Caleb started. I rolled up my sleeve, showing the red marks already forming where his fingers had dug in. Right there. Patricia's eyes narrowed. Mira, you clumsy thing, stop walking into things. I didn't walk into anything. He grabbed me. Are you calling my son a liar? Patricia stepped forward, her face twisted with malice. I'm stating a fact. Something shifted in the room. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. Mira was supposed to cower, to cry, to apologize. I did none of those things. Caleb recovered first. You must have hit your head. You're not making sense. I'm making perfect sense, for the first time in 3 years, actually. Go to your room, he commanded. No. Excuse me? I picked up Hope, who was watching this exchange with wide, confused eyes. I'm going to put our daughter to bed. Then I'm going to sleep in the guest room. If either of you touches me or her, I'm calling 911, and this time I'm recording it. I pulled out Mira's phone and held it up, recording light on. Caleb's face went white, then red. You wouldn't dare. Watch me. I walked upstairs with Hope, leaving them standing in the kitchen, probably too shocked to move. In Hope's room, I set her down gently. You okay, baby? She nodded, but her little hands were shaking. Mommy was very brave tonight, I said softly. And you're going to be brave too, okay? Okay, she whispered. I tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and waited until she fell asleep. Then I went to the guest room and locked the door. I knew this wouldn't last. I knew Caleb would retaliate. The monster had been challenged, and monsters don't like that. But I'd sent a message. Mira wasn't the same woman anymore, and tomorrow the real game would begin. I texted Mira. Day 1 done. He grabbed me, I fought back, recording everything. Hope is safe, this is going to be interesting. Her response came immediately. Be careful. He's unpredictable when challenged. Good, I texted back, so am I. I lay in the guest room bed staring at the ceiling and smiled. Caleb Wright had spent 3 years breaking my sister. Now it was my turn to break him. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the guest room with a chair wedged against the door, listening for footsteps. Around 3 a.m., I heard Caleb try the handle. It didn't turn. He stood there for a long moment, then walked away. In the morning, I emerged to find him already gone to work. Patricia sat in the kitchen drinking coffee and reading the newspaper like she owned the place. You're up late, she said without looking at me. Breakfast should have been ready an hour ago. Good morning to you too, I replied. She lowered the paper, eyes sharp. Caleb told me about your little episode last night. I don't know what's gotten into you, but I suggest you fix your attitude before he gets home. Or what? Her eyes narrowed. Or you'll find yourself back where you came from. That psychiatric facility your sister stayed in. Did you think we didn't know? Caleb has all the documentation. One phone call and you'll be committed for evaluation. Delusional, violent, unfit mother. Ah. So that was their insurance policy. Make Mira look crazy so no one would believe her if she ever reported the abuse. I'd like to see you try, I said calmly. Excuse me. I said I'd like to see you try, because unlike before, I'm documenting everything. Every insult, every threat, every bruise, and I'm sending it all to a secure cloud account you can't access. I wasn't, not yet, but she didn't know that. Patricia stood up, her face flushed. You ungrateful little... Choose your next words carefully, I interrupted. I'm recording this conversation. She glanced at my phone on the counter, recording light on. You can't do that without my consent, she hissed. Actually, in Oregon, only one party needs to consent to recording, and I consent. So say whatever you'd like, it's all evidence. She grabbed her purse and coat. We'll see what Caleb has to say about this. I'm sure we will. She left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I immediately called Mira. We need to open a cloud account and start uploading everything. Photos, recordings, that notebook you kept, all of it. Already done, Mira said. I set it up last month. I was trying to gather evidence before I ran. The login information is in my email under the name Mom's Recipes. My sister was smarter than anyone gave her credit for. I spent the morning photographing everything. The locked drawers in Hope's room, the single container of yogurt in the fridge, the expensive suits in Caleb's closet next to Mira's 3 outfits, the medical records, the notebook, every piece of evidence uploaded and backed up. Then I started calling lawyers. The first 3 hung up when I explained the situation. The 4th listened but said she couldn't help without concrete proof. The 5th said she'd handled cases like this before, and could I come in for a consultation? I need to know, I asked carefully, if you've ever dealt with abusers who have connections to law enforcement. Several times, Attorney Sarah Mitchell replied. It's more common than you'd think, and yes, I know how to handle it. Can you come in tomorrow at 10 a.m.? I'll be there. At 6 p.m., Caleb came home. I had dinner ready, perfectly timed, perfectly cooked. I'd even set the table with candles. He stood in the doorway, suspicious. What's this? Dinner, I said. I thought we could talk. Talk. Yes, about how we move forward. He sat down slowly like he was approaching a wild animal. You mean about your breakdown last night? I mean about our marriage. He laughed, actually laughed. Our marriage? Mira, we don't have a marriage. We have an arrangement. I provide money and a home. You provide services. That's how this works. Services. Cooking, cleaning, childcare. He picked up his fork. And other things when I require them. The way he said it made my stomach turn. What if I want to renegotiate our arrangement? I asked. You can't. Why not? Because you have no leverage. He took a bite of food, chewed thoughtfully. Actually, this is good. You should cook steak more often. I hadn't made steak. I'd made the chicken he complained about last night. He knew. He'd known it was fine last night. He just wanted a reason to hurt Mira. I have plenty of leverage, I said quietly. Oh? Your crazy sister? Your non-existent support system? Your complete financial dependence on me? He smiled. Go ahead, leave. See how far you get. I'll have Hope taken away within a week. Unfit mother with a history of mental illness in the family. Drug use. I don't use drugs. You will have, he said calmly. Once I'm done with you. The pills I'll plant. The witnesses I'll pay. By the time I'm finished, you won't even be allowed supervised visits. There it was. The real threat. Not the hitting, not the isolation, but losing Hope. That's how he'd kept Mira trapped. You'd do that to your own daughter? I asked. I'd do worse to keep what's mine. He stood up. Now let's stop this nonsense. Go upstairs and wait for me. I had a stressful day and I need to relax. The way he said it left no doubt what he meant. My hands clenched under the table. No. What? I said no. His face darkened. Mira, I'm not asking. I don't care. He moved fast, grabbing the back of my chair and yanking it away from the table. I tumbled backward, hitting the floor hard. You don't get to say no to me, he snarled, standing over me. You don't get rights. You don't get opinions. Your property. Mine. I stayed on the floor, phone in my pocket still recording. Let him think he'd won. Yes, sir, I whispered. That's better. He reached down, grabbing my hair. Now get up and... The front door opened. Caleb, are you home? A woman's voice. Rachel, his sister. He immediately let go of my hair, his expression smoothing into something pleasant. In here, Rach. I stood up slowly as Rachel walked in. She looked like a feminine version of Caleb, tall, put together, cold eyes. Oh, Mira's here, she said, her tone suggesting she'd stepped in something unpleasant. I didn't realize. We were just finishing dinner, Caleb said smoothly. Rachel's eyes flicked to me on the floor, to Caleb standing over me. She knew exactly what she'd interrupted, and she didn't care. I brought wine, she said, holding up a bottle. Thought we could catch up. Mira, you can leave us alone now. Go check on Hope or something. I stood up, brushed off my clothes, and walked toward the stairs, but I stopped at the doorway. Actually, I have a better idea, I said, turning back. Rachel, why don't you tell me about the time you and Caleb put sugar in the gas tank of his ex-girlfriend's car? The room went silent. Rachel's face went pale. I have no idea what you're talking about. Sure you do. Senior year of high school. The girl who tried to break up with Calvaub. Him. You and Caleb destroyed her car, then spread rumors she was unstable when she accused you. Sound familiar? Caleb's jaw clenched. Where did you hear that? Mira knows a lot more than you think she does. I smiled sweetly. She's very good at listening when people think she's not paying attention. This was actually something Mira had told me during our all-night conversation. A story Caleb had drunkenly bragged about once, not realizing she was awake. That was a long time ago, Rachel said stiffly. We were kids. You were 18, adults, who committed a crime and got away with it because Daddy had connections. I looked at Caleb. Kind of like how you're getting away with abuse now because you golf with the police captain. Get out, Caleb said quietly. Go to your room, now. Or what? You'll hit me in front of your sister? Go ahead. Let's see if she helps you or calls the police. Rachel's eyes darted between us. Caleb, what is she talking about? Nothing, she's being dramatic. Am I? I rolled up my sleeve, showing the bruises from last night. These are from his hand. Want to see the rest? She's lying, Caleb said quickly. She's mentally unstable. She hurts herself and blames me. Do I? I pulled out my phone and played a clip from last night's recording. His voice came through clearly. You know how this ends. Then the sound of him grabbing me, my voice saying, let go, and Hope whimpering in fear. Rachel's face was unreadable. Well, I asked, are you going to pretend you didn't hear that? She looked at her brother, then at me. Then she set down the wine bottle very carefully. Mira, she said slowly, you should be careful about making accusations you can't prove. I can prove it. I have 3 years of medical records, a notebook full of dates and descriptions. Recordings, photos, all backed up where Caleb can't delete them. Caleb lunged at me. I'd been expecting it. I stepped aside and he crashed into the doorframe, his shoulder hitting hard. "You bitch!" he gasped. "You crazy bitch!" "There it is," I said calmly. "The real you. Not so charming now, is he, Rachel?" Rachel grabbed her purse. "I'm not getting involved in this." "You already are involved. You've been complicit for 3 years. You've seen the bruises. You've heard Hope crying. You've watched your brother destroy a woman, and you've done nothing. That's not my responsibility. It makes you an accessory. In the eyes of the law, your silence is participation." I was bluffing. I had no idea if that was legally true, but it sounded good. Rachel's hand froze on the doorknob. "What do you want?" "I want you to tell the truth if this goes to court. I want you to admit what you've seen." "And if I don't?" "Then I'll make sure everyone knows. Your employer, your friends, your country club. I'll post every piece of evidence online with your name attached. I'll make sure when people Google you, they see Rachel Wright, enabler of domestic abuse." Her face flushed with rage. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me." She looked at Caleb, who was still clutching his shoulder. "Handle your wife," she spat and left. The moment the door closed, Caleb straightened up. The pain on his face vanished. He'd been faking. "You think you're so smart," he said, "playing your little games, recording everything, but you're forgetting something important." "What's that?" "I can make you disappear." He stepped closer. "An accident, a suicide. You've got a crazy sister, a history of depression. It would be so easy to make it look like you couldn't handle life anymore." My blood ran cold, not from fear but from the casual way he said it. Like he'd thought about this before, like maybe he'd planned it. "If anything happens to me," I said carefully, "everything I've collected goes automatically to the police, the media, and a lawyer. It's set up on a dead man's switch. I don't check in every day, it all gets released." This was also a bluff. I hadn't set that up yet, but I would, tonight. Caleb's smile faded. "You're bluffing." "Am I? Do you want to find out?" We stared at each other, two predators circling, trying to figure out who would strike first. "This isn't over," he finally said. "No," I agreed. "It's not, but it will be. And when it is, you're going to lose everything. Your house, your reputation, your freedom. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of monster you are. And I'm going to make sure you never see Hope again." That was his trump card, his nuclear option. Take Hope away, and Mira would have nothing left to live for. But he was forgetting something important. I wasn't Mira. "We'll see," I said and walked upstairs. In Hope's room, I found her sitting up in bed, eyes wide. She'd heard everything. "It's okay," I whispered, holding her close. "Everything's going to be okay." "Mommy's different," she said quietly. "Yeah, Mommy's braver now. Is that okay?" She nodded against my chest. "I like brave Mommy." "Good, because brave Mommy isn't going to let anyone hurt us anymore." I stayed with her until she fell asleep, then went to the guest room and started setting up the dead man's switch. It took 2 hours and help from a tech-savvy friend of Mira's, but by midnight it was done. If I didn't check in every 24 hours, everything would automatically send to 5 different lawyers, 3 news organizations, and the FBI field office in Portland. I texted Mira. "It's escalating. He threatened to kill me and make it look like suicide. I've set up protections, but we need to move faster." Her response: "Oh God, Maya, get out. Just grab Hope and run, not yet. We do this right or he wins. Trust me, I do trust you. I'm just scared." Good. Fear makes us careful. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow I'm meeting with that lawyer. I lay in bed, mind racing. Caleb had shown his hand tonight. The threats, the violence, the willingness to kill to keep his power. But he'd also made mistakes. He'd admitted things on recording. He'd lost control in front of his sister. He'd revealed he'd thought about murdering Mira. The monster was getting sloppy, and sloppy monsters made fatal errors. Attorney Sarah Mitchell's office was in a modest building downtown, nothing fancy. That was my first indication she might actually help, rather than just take money and run. She was in her 50s, gray hair pulled back, sharp eyes that had seen everything. "Mrs. Wright," she said, gesturing to a chair, "tell me everything." I did. I showed her the photos, the medical records, the notebook, the recordings. I told her about the police connections, about Patricia and Rachel, about the threats. She listened without interrupting, taking notes occasionally. When I finished, she sat back. "This is one of the worst cases I've seen, and I've seen a lot. Can you help me?" "Yes, but it won't be easy. Your husband has money, connections, and a clean public image. We're going to have to be strategic." "Tell me what to do." She pulled out a legal pad. "First, we need more evidence. What you have is good, but a defense attorney will argue the recordings are taken out of context, that the injuries are self-inflicted, that you're unstable. So what do we need? Witnesses, neighbors who've heard arguments, Hope's daycare teachers, anyone who's seen suspicious behavior, medical professionals who've treated your injuries, phone records showing he tracks your location, financial records showing he controls all the money. I can get most of that. Second, we need to establish a pattern. Document every interaction. Date, time, what was said, what was done. The more detailed, the better. Okay. Third, she leaned forward. We need to prepare for him to file for custody, because he will. The moment you file for divorce or a restraining order, he's going to claim you're an unfit mother. We need to get ahead of that. How? Psychiatric evaluation showing you're stable and sane, character witnesses, evidence that you're the primary caregiver, documentation that he's neglectful at best, abusive at worst toward Hope. My stomach clenched. He's never hit her. Physical abuse isn't the only kind. Exposing a child to domestic violence is psychological abuse. Neglecting her emotional needs is abuse. Making her live in fear is abuse. She was right. Hope was a victim too. "There's one more thing," Sarah said carefully. "Your mental health history. What about it? You were hospitalized at Riverwood for 8 years. That's going to come up. His lawyers will use it to paint you as unstable." Oh God, I'd forgotten that part. I was supposed to be Mira, who'd never been hospitalized, but my history was documented, public record. Wait, no. Mira had been hospitalized briefly after a suicide attempt when we were 19. That's why she understood how to act like me at Riverwood. "I was hospitalized once," I said carefully, "after a suicide attempt, but that was 8 years ago and I've been stable ever since." Sarah nodded. "That's actually good. It shows you've faced mental health challenges and overcome them. We can use it to demonstrate strength, not weakness. But you'll need a current psychiatric evaluation to prove you're not currently a danger to yourself or Hope." "I can do that." "Good. Now let's talk timeline. How long can you safely stay in that house?" I thought about Caleb's threat last night, about the cold calculation in his eyes when he talked about making me disappear. "Not long," I admitted. "Then we move fast. I'm going to file for an emergency restraining order based on the evidence you've provided. It won't be easy to get approved given his connections, but we'll try. Simultaneously, we'll file for divorce and full custody of Hope." "When?" "I need 3 days to prepare the paperwork and line up a sympathetic judge, someone who isn't on Caleb's golf team." She smiled grimly. "Yes, I know about the golf games. I've dealt with him before." "You have?" "Not directly, but I represented his ex-girlfriend 5 years ago, the one before you. She tried to get a restraining order against him after he broke her arm. It was denied due to lack of evidence. 2 weeks later, she dropped the case and left the state." My blood went cold. He paid her off? Or threatened her effectively enough that she ran? Either way, Caleb Wright has a pattern, and patterns are prosecutable. Did she have evidence? Some, not enough. But if we can find her, get her testimony combined with yours, we might have something that even his lawyer friends can't dismiss. Do you know where she is? Last I heard, Seattle. I'll reach out. We spent another hour going over details, strategies, potential obstacles. By the time I left, I had a plan. A real plan. And for the first time since this started, I felt like we might actually win. I was halfway to my car when someone grabbed my arm. I spun, ready to fight, and found myself face to face with a woman I didn't recognize. Mid-30s, designer clothes, expensive highlights. "You're Mira Wright," she said, not a question. "Who's asking?" "Someone who wants to help." She glanced around nervously. "But not here. There's a coffee shop 2 blocks down. Meet me there in 10 minutes. Come alone." "Why should I trust you?" "Because I'm Caleb's ex-wife," she said. "The one before his ex-girlfriend. The one no one talks about. And I have information you need." She let go of my arm and walked away quickly, disappearing into the crowd. I stood there, heart pounding. Caleb had been married before? Mira had never mentioned that. Maybe Mira didn't know. I called Sarah Mitchell. "Did you know Caleb was married before?" "What?" "No, there's no record of a previous marriage." "A woman just approached me claiming to be his ex-wife. She wants to meet." "Don't. It could be a trap. Or it could be the evidence we need." Sarah sighed. "If you're going to meet her, record everything and keep your location sharing on. If something happens, you'll know where to find my body. Got it." I ended the call and walked to the coffee shop. The woman was sitting in the back corner, 2 cups of coffee already on the table. She gestured to the seat across from her. "Thank you for coming," she said as I sat down. "I'm Andrea. Andrea Donovan now. Andrea Wright for 6 months, 10 years ago." "Why isn't there any record of your marriage?" "Because it was annulled. Caleb paid a lot of money to make sure it disappeared from public records. He doesn't like people knowing he failed at something." "Why are you telling me this?" Andrea wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. They were shaking. "Because I heard you were asking questions, and because I saw you leaving Sarah Mitchell's office. Sarah helped me once, before I got scared and ran." "You're the ex-girlfriend, not the ex-wife." "I'm both," she said quietly. "We got married in Vegas when I was 22. Stupid, impulsive, drunk. We got it annulled 6 months later after he put me in the hospital." "What did he do?" "What didn't he do?" She pulled up her sleeve. There was a long scar running from her wrist to her elbow. "He pushed me through a glass door when I said I wanted to go back to school. Severed 2 tendons. I nearly lost function in my hand." "Jesus." "That was just the final incident. Before that, it was the usual. Controlling, isolating, emotional abuse. Then it escalated to physical. By the time I got the courage to leave, I was a shell of myself. Just like Mira." "Why did you come back 5 years later?" "I didn't. I never left Portland. I just stayed hidden. The girlfriend after me, the one Sarah represented, she reached out, asked me to testify. I agreed. Then Caleb's lawyer showed up at my apartment with photos." "Photos of what?" Andrea's hands shook harder. "Of my sister's kids, coming out of school, playing in their yard. The message was clear: testify, and something happens to them." "Oh my God." "So I ran, moved to Seattle, changed my name, started over, and I've hated myself every day since, knowing I left other women to suffer what I suffered." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "When I heard you were building a case, I knew I had to come forward, for my own conscience, and to stop him before he kills someone." "You think he's capable of murder?" "I know he is. He told me once, during a particularly bad fight, that he could kill me and make it look like an accident, that he'd done it before." The room tilted. "Before? To who?" "His college girlfriend, the one who supposedly drowned while they were on vacation. Everyone said it was a tragic accident, but Caleb told me he held her under when she tried to break up with him." I couldn't breathe. "Did you report this?" "To who?" I had no proof. Just the word of an unstable ex-wife against a respected businessman. Who would believe me? "I believe you." She pulled out a folder. "I've kept everything. Photos of my injuries, medical records, copies of the annulment, papers that show the real reason for dissolution was domestic violence, before Caleb paid to have them sealed. Emails he sent me threatening my family, all of it." She slid the folder across the table. "Give this to Sarah. Tell her I'll testify. I don't care anymore if he threatens me. I'm tired of being afraid." "He'll come after you." "Probably. But if we all stand together, if we all tell our stories, maybe this time someone will listen." I opened the folder. Page after page of evidence. Photos that made my stomach turn. This was what Caleb had done to his first wife. This was what he would have eventually done to Mira. This was what he wanted to do to me. "Thank you," I said. "This changes everything." "Stop him," Andrea said fiercely. "Stop him before he finds another victim, before he does kill someone. Promise me." "I promise." She stood up to leave, then paused. "One more thing. Be careful around Patricia. She's not just enabling him, she's coaching him." "What do you mean?" "She's the one who taught him how to hit so it doesn't show, how to document things to make the victim look crazy, how to use the system against the women trying to escape." Andrea's voice dropped. "She did the same thing to Caleb's father. He died when Caleb was 15, fell down the stairs, they said. But I saw the police report once. The injuries weren't consistent with a fall." "You think Patricia killed him?" "I think she got away with it, and she's been teaching her son to do the same." She left before I could ask more questions. I sat there with the folder, mind reeling. This wasn't just about Caleb anymore. This was a pattern spanning decades, a family business of abuse and murder, and I'd walked right into the center of it. I texted Mira, "We need to talk tonight. This is bigger than we thought." Her response? "I'm coming over." "No, too dangerous. I'll come to you after Hope's asleep." At 6 p.m., I walked into the house with Hope to find Caleb already home. He was sitting in the living room with two other men I didn't recognize. "Mira," he said pleasantly, "these are my colleagues from work. We're having a business meeting. Take Hope upstairs." I recognized the tone, the fake, pleasant voice he used when others were watching. "Of course," I said, matching his fake sweetness. "Hope, say hello to Daddy's friends." "Hello," Hope whispered. One of the men smiled at her. "What a sweet little girl. How old are you?" Before Hope could answer, Caleb cut in. "She's 3, Mira, upstairs, now." I led Hope upstairs but left the bedroom door cracked. I wanted to hear what they were discussing. Their voices floated up. "So that's the wife," one man said. "Pretty thing, quiet." "Very quiet," Caleb agreed. "Knows her place." "Lucky man, my wife never stops talking." They laughed, that casual masculine bonding over controlling women. "Speaking of wives," the other man said, "I heard yours had some kind of episode the other day. Rachel mentioned it." My ears perked up. Rachel had been talking. "Nothing serious," Caleb said smoothly. "She went off her medication for a few days. Got confused, said some things that didn't make sense. It's handled now." "Medication for what?" "Depression, anxiety, the usual female problems. Her sister has the same issues. Genetic, apparently." He was already building the narrative. Crazy Mira, unreliable Mira, medicated Mira. If I tried to come forward, he'd point to this conversation as proof I was mentally ill. Smart. Terrifying, but smart. "Must be hard," the first man said sympathetically. "Dealing with that and a kid." "It is, but family is family. You stand by them even when they're difficult." What a performance. St. Caleb, noble husband enduring his crazy wife. I pulled out my phone and recorded the conversation. More evidence of his manipulation. After his colleagues left, Caleb came upstairs. He didn't knock, just opened Hope's bedroom door where I was reading her a story. "Hope, go brush your teeth," he ordered. The little girl scampered away, knowing better than to argue. Caleb closed the door. "We need to talk." "About?" "About the lawyer you visited today, about Andrea Donovan, about whatever pathetic case you think you're building." My blood went cold. He'd been having me followed. "I don't know what you're talking about." He held up his phone, showing a photo of me entering Sarah Mitchell's office, another of me meeting Andrea at the coffee shop. "Don't lie to me," he said quietly. "You're not good at it. If you're having me followed, that's going in my case too. It's called stalking. It's called protecting my interests. And you're my interest, Mira, my property, and I protect what's mine." He stepped closer. I stood my ground. "Andrea Donovan is a disturbed woman with a history of false accusations," he continued. "Her testimony won't hold up. Sarah Mitchell is a third-rate lawyer who takes hopeless cases for the publicity. And you? You're a mentally unstable mother who's about to lose everything." We'll see about that. Yes, we will. He smiled, cold and cruel. I've already filed a petition with CPS, claiming you've been exhibiting erratic behavior, making false accusations, possibly using drugs again. They'll be here tomorrow to evaluate the home environment. I don't use drugs. You will. I've planted them in your nightstand. The bottle has your fingerprints all over it. You touched it this morning when you were looking for a pen, remember? He'd tricked me, set me up. I'll tell them you planted it. Who will they believe? The respected businessman or the crazy wife? Especially when I show them the video I took of you screaming at Hope yesterday. I never screamed at Hope. The video says otherwise. Technology is amazing. You can edit anything these days. He had an answer for everything, a counter move for every move I made. Here's what's going to happen, Caleb said. You're going to call Sarah Mitchell and tell her you're dropping the case. You're going to apologize to Andrea for dragging her into your delusions, and you're going to be the perfect, grateful wife from now on. Do that, and I might let you keep limited contact with Hope when I get full custody. And if I don't, then Hope goes into foster care while we fight it out in court. And trust me, Mira, I can make that process last years. Years of your daughter in the system, being shuffled from home to home while you drain your non-existent savings trying to fight me. He leaned in close. You can't win. You never could. I've been planning for this possibility since the day we got married. Every base is covered. Every angle is accounted for. You're not dealing with some amateur who loses his temper. You're dealing with someone who's been patient, strategic, and always 3 steps ahead. My mind raced. He was right about one thing. He had been planning this. The planted drugs, the fake video, the CPS call, all of it orchestrated perfectly. But he'd made one critical mistake. He assumed he was fighting Mira, gentle, beaten down, terrified Mira who would fold under pressure. He wasn't. He was fighting me. And I'd spent 8 years in a psychiatric facility learning how to stay calm under pressure, learning how to think strategically, learning how to win the long game. Okay, I said quietly. He blinked. What? You're right. I can't win. Not against you. You're too smart, too prepared. I'll call Sarah tomorrow and drop everything. He studied me suspiciously. Just like that? Just like that. I'm tired, Caleb. Tired of fighting. Tired of being afraid. You win. I let my shoulders slump, let tears fill my eyes. I became Mira again, broken and defeated. His expression shifted to satisfaction. Good. That's good. See? This is what happens when you're reasonable. He actually touched my cheek, almost gently. We can go back to how things were. You play your role, I play mine. We're a perfect family. Everyone wins. Everyone wins, I echoed hollowly. That's my girl. He kissed my forehead like I was a child. Now go make me dinner. I'm starving. I went downstairs on shaking legs and cooked dinner like a robot. My mind was in overdrive. Caleb thought he'd won. He thought I'd given up. He had no idea I'd just declared war. Real war. Not the kind with lawyers and courtrooms. The kind with no rules. After dinner, after Caleb went to bed satisfied with his victory, I snuck out. I drove to my parents' house where Mira was waiting. He knows, I said as soon as I walked in. He's been following me. He knows about Sarah, about Andrea, about everything. Mira went pale. Oh, God. And he's filed a false CPS report. They're coming tomorrow. He's planted drugs, edited video. He's framing me. What do we do? I pulled out the folder Andrea had given me. We stopped playing by his rules. He wants to manipulate the system? Fine, we burn the whole system down. What does that mean? It means we don't fight him in court. We destroy him publicly. We take all of this, your story, Andrea's story, the other girlfriend's story, and we go to the media. We make it too big to ignore. We make him so toxic that no judge, no police captain, no lawyer will touch him. That's dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous, but it's our only shot. His weakness is his image. He's spent years building this perfect facade. Successful businessman, upstanding citizen, loving father. If we crack that facade wide enough, everything underneath crumbles. Mira was quiet for a long moment, then she nodded. Do it. Burn it all down. We spent the next 3 hours crafting our strategy. We'd contact every journalist in Portland, every news station, every blogger who covered abuse cases. We'd flood them with evidence. We'd give them a story too good to ignore, the successful businessman with a trail of broken women behind him. But we had to move fast, before CPS came, before Caleb could solidify his frame job. "Tomorrow," I said. "We do it tomorrow. Are you ready?" "I'm ready," Mira said. "Are you?" I thought about Caleb's smile tonight, his certainty that he'd won, his complete confidence that he was untouchable. "Yeah," I said. "I'm ready to destroy him." The next morning I woke up to find Caleb already gone, a note on the kitchen counter. "CPS will be here at 10 a.m. Make sure the house is perfect. Make sure you're perfect." Remember what we discussed? It was 8 a.m., 2 hours to prepare. I texted Sarah Mitchell. "Change of plans, we're going public today. How fast can you arrange a press conference?" Her response came immediately. "What happened?" "He's framing me. CPS coming in 2 hours with false accusations. We need to get ahead of it. Press conference takes time, but I can do a media blast this morning. Send everything to multiple outlets simultaneously, do it. And Sarah, make it loud." While Sarah coordinated the media strategy, I called Andrea. "Are you still willing to testify?" "Yes, what do you need?" "Everything on record today, as many news outlets as possible." "I'm in." Next, I called the ex-girlfriend, Rachel Harris. Sarah had managed to track her down in Seattle. "This is Mira Wright," I said when she answered. "I'm married to Caleb, the man who hurt you." Silence then. "Why are you calling me?" "Because he's doing to me what he did to you, and I'm not running, I'm fighting back, and I need you." "I can't." "He said you'd say that. He said he threatened your family and you ran. But Rachel, he's still out there. He's still hurting people. If we don't stop him now, there will be more victims. More women in hospitals. Maybe more murders." Murders. I told her about Andrea's revelation, about the college girlfriend who drowned, about Patricia coaching her son in abuse. Rachel was quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, "What do you need me to do?" By 9:30 a.m., we had 3 major news outlets confirmed for interviews, 5 blogs ready to publish, a podcast with a huge following interested in the story. Sarah had worked magic. At 9:45, I heard a car pull up, CPS 15 minutes early. I opened the door to find not just the CPS investigator, but also 2 police officers and Patricia Wright. "Mrs. Wright," the investigator said. She was young, maybe late 20s, with kind eyes that had seen too much. "I'm Jennifer Cole from Child Protective Services. We received a concerning report. May I come in?" "Of course." They entered. I watched Patricia smirk as she looked around the house, probably expecting to find evidence I'd planted drugs or endangered hope. But I'd already removed the planted drugs, photographed them, fingerprinted the bottle. Caleb's prints were all over it, not just mine, and locked them in the trunk of the car as evidence. "Can you tell me about your daughter's routine?" Jennifer asked, pulling out a notepad. I walked her through Hope's day. Breakfast, daycare, dinner, bedtime. All normal, stable, age-appropriate. "And your husband, Caleb Wright, how involved is he in Hope's care?" "Not very," I said honestly. "He works long hours. I'm the primary caregiver," Patricia interjected. "That's not true. Caleb is very involved. Mira is just possessive of Hope." Jennifer turned to her. "And you are?" "Patricia Wright, Caleb's mother. I live here. I've witnessed Mira's instability firsthand." "What kind of instability?" "Mood swings, irrational behavior, making false accusations against my son. Clearly she's having some kind of breakdown." "I see." Jennifer made notes. "Mrs. Wright, do you have any history of mental illness?" Here it was, the trap Caleb had set. "I do," I said clearly. "I attempted suicide 8 years ago after a traumatic assault. I was briefly hospitalized and have been in regular therapy since. I'm happy to provide documentation from my therapist confirming I'm currently stable and pose no danger to my daughter or myself." Jennifer nodded. "That's good. Mental health challenges don't make someone a bad parent. Properly managed, She's lying," Patricia cut in. "She's been off her medication. She's been erratic, violent even." "Have you seen her be violent toward Hope?" Well, no, but has anyone seen her be violent toward Hope or neglectful in any way? Patricia faltered. Not directly, but Caleb said, "So the only source of these concerns is Mr. Wright?" Jennifer looked at me. "Mrs. Wright, I need to ask you some direct questions. Has your husband ever hit you?" "Yes." The room went silent. Patricia's face flushed. "She's lying. Ma'am, I'm speaking to Mrs. Wright." Jennifer's voice was firm. "Mrs. Wright, can you show me evidence of this abuse?" I rolled up my sleeves, showing the fingerprint bruises from 2 nights ago. Then I pulled out my phone and showed her photos of older injuries, the medical records, the notebook. Jennifer's expression hardened as she scrolled through the evidence. "Why didn't you report this sooner?" "I did, multiple times. The reports were never taken. Seriously, because my husband has connections to the police department." One of the officers shifted uncomfortably. Jennifer noticed. "Officer Bryant," she said. "Do you know Caleb Wright personally?" Yeah, we golf sometimes." "I see. I think I'll be requesting an independent investigation into those prior reports." She turned back to me. "Mrs. Wright, do you have somewhere safe to go? Because based on what I'm seeing, I'm recommending immediate removal." She glanced at Patricia. "Of Mr. Wright from the home, not the child." Patricia exploded. "You can't do that. My son is a respected businessman. She's the unstable one." "Ma'am, I've been doing this job for 6 years. I know what abuse looks like. And this?" She held up my phone showing the evidence, "is textbook domestic violence. I'm also concerned about why you, as the grandmother, have apparently been aware of this situation and failed to protect your daughter-in-law or granddaughter." Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Jennifer turned to the officers. "I'm going to need you to document this scene, and I'm formally recommending a full criminal investigation into Caleb Wright for domestic violence." "But the captain," Officer Bryant started. "I don't care who he golfs with," Jennifer cut him off. "This is my job, and I'm doing it. If there's a problem with that, I'll go over your captain's head to the district attorney." My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "First story just went live. Portland Tribune. Front page of their website. Others dropping in the next hour." I pulled up the Tribune on my phone. The headline, "Local businessman accused of systematic abuse by multiple women." The article had everything: Andrea's story, Rachel Harris's story. She'd sent a written statement overnight. Medical records, photos, my testimony, all of it laid out in detail, and it was already going viral. I showed Jennifer. "This is about to get much bigger. 3 more news outlets are running stories today. A podcast, multiple blogs. My lawyer coordinated it all this morning." Jennifer's eyebrows rose. "You've been busy." "I had to be. My husband filed this CPS report as retaliation because I'm building a case against him. He planted drugs in my nightstand to make me look unstable. He's been manipulating the system for years, and I decided the only way to fight back was to go around the system entirely." "Smart," Jennifer said quietly. Then, louder. "Officer Bryant, I need you to search the residence for any planted evidence. Mrs. Wright has made a serious allegation." "I already removed the drugs," I said. "They're locked in my car trunk. The bottle has both my fingerprints and my husband's, but the prescription isn't in my name. I can show you the photos I took before moving them, with timestamps." I pulled up the photos on my phone. The prescription bottle clearly showing it was made out to someone else entirely. The date stamp from this morning. Jennifer took my phone and showed it. To the officers. "Well, does this look like a woman using drugs or a woman being framed?" Officer Bryant had gone pale. I think we need to bring Detective Morrison in on this." "Good idea," Jennifer said. "And while you're at it, bring someone from Internal Affairs. Because if what Mrs. Wright is saying is true about multiple reports being ignored due to Mr. Wright's connections, we have a serious corruption problem." Patricia suddenly moved toward the door. "I need to call my son." "Mrs. Wright," Jennifer said sharply, "I need you to stay here. You're a witness, possibly an accomplice if it turns out you knew about the abuse and did nothing to stop it." "Accomplice? I'm not—" "Andrea Donovan stated in her testimony this morning that you coached your son in how to abuse his wife without leaving visible marks. Is that true?" Patricia's face went white. "I never. Because if it is true, you could be charged as an accessory to assault, possibly attempted murder depending on what the full investigation reveals. I watched Patricia crumble. For 3 years, she'd been the untouchable matriarch, ruling over her son's household with cruelty. Now she was just a frightened old woman realizing the walls were closing in. My phone kept buzzing. More news alerts, more shares on social media. The story was spreading faster than we'd hoped. Sarah called. Mira, turn on Channel 8 now. I found the remote and turned on the TV. Channel 8 News was running a special report. Allegations that have rocked the Portland business community today. The anchor was saying, Caleb Wright, CEO of Wright Financial Solutions, is facing accusations from multiple women spanning over a decade. They cut to Andrea on camera, her face composed and determined. He told me he could kill me and make it look like an accident. I believed him. I was too afraid to come forward. But I'm not afraid anymore. Then Rachel Harris, via video call from Seattle. I thought I was the only one. I thought I'd done something to deserve it. But hearing these other women's stories, I realized we were all victims of the same predator. The anchor continued. CPS was called to the Wright residence this morning following an anonymous tip, but sources say the investigation quickly shifted focus from Mrs. Wright to her husband after evidence of systematic abuse was uncovered. Anonymous tip. Caleb had made the call himself, never imagining it would backfire this spectacularly. The news showed photos of Caleb, looking handsome and successful in his business suits. Then they showed the medical records, blurred for privacy but clearly showing injury documentation. Wright Financial Solutions has issued a statement saying these are baseless accusations from troubled individuals, but multiple sources confirm that at least 3 major clients have already pulled their accounts this morning. His business was imploding in real time. My phone rang. Caleb. I almost didn't answer, but I wanted to hear his voice when he realized he'd lost. Hello? What did you do? His voice was strangled with rage. What the fuck did you do? I stopped you. You ruined me, my business, my reputation, everything I've built. You ruined yourself. I cut him off. I just made sure everyone could see it. How does it feel, Caleb? How does it feel to have everyone know what you really are? You're going to pay for this, you and that bitch sister of yours? I went cold. What did you just say? He laughed, bitter and harsh. You think I didn't know? Mira couldn't suddenly grow a spine overnight. I had you investigated. DNA test from Hope's toothbrush matched to Mira, but the behavioral analysis showed you were completely different people. It wasn't hard to figure out you'd switched. My heart pounded. When did you know? From the first night. The way you looked at me, the way you stood up to me. Mira never had that fire. His voice dropped to something dangerous. I've been playing along, Maya, waiting for the right moment. And now I have proof that you've been impersonating your sister. That's fraud, identity theft, possibly kidnapping if we argue you took Hope from her legal mother. Oh God, he'd known all along and been building a counter case. Any judge will throw out your evidence once they know you obtained it through fraud. He continued, and poor unstable Mira will lose custody of Hope while you go to jail for identity theft? Except I am Mira, I said quietly. What? Check your wife's fingerprints, check her dental records, check her DNA against Hope's. It'll all match perfectly, because I am Mira Wright. You're lying, am I? Or did you just assume you were so smart that you figured out a twin switch when really, you just couldn't accept that your beaten wife finally found her courage? I let him hear the smile in my voice. You had me investigated and they told you exactly what you wanted to hear, that this had to be someone else, because your Mira couldn't possibly be this strong. Your ego wrote a story that wasn't true. Silence on the other end. I could practically hear his mind racing. I never switched places with anyone, I continued. I'm your wife, I'm Hope's mother, and I just spent 3 months documenting every single thing you did to me while you were so convinced you were playing chess with an imposter that you made mistakes. Fatal mistakes. No, I had DNA from Hope's toothbrush, which matched her mother. Me. Did you ever actually test me directly? Or did you just test Hope and make assumptions? More silence. He hadn't. He'd been so sure of his brilliant deduction that he'd never verified it. "It's over, Caleb," I said softly. "You're done. And the beautiful part? You destroyed yourself. I just turned on the lights so everyone could see." I hung up while he was still sputtering. Jennifer was watching me with a strange expression. "That was impressive." "He thought he was so smart," said. But he outsmarted himself. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Mira. "Maya, are you okay?" "I saw the news. Everyone's calling. Mom and Dad are freaking out." I texted back, "All part of the plan. Stay put. Play the part." "I'll explain everything tonight," because Caleb had been right about one thing. Mira and I had switched, but he'd made his accusation too early with insufficient proof, and now that card was played. If he tried to claim it again, it would look like the desperate flailing of a guilty man, and legally, even if he somehow proved it later, it wouldn't matter. Everything I documented was real. The abuse happened. The evidence was solid. Whether it was Mira or me in the house didn't change what Caleb had done. At 11 a.m., Caleb arrived home. He walked in to find CPS, 2 police officers, and a detective from Internal Affairs waiting for him. "Mr. Wright," Detective Morrison said, "we need to talk about some allegations." Caleb looked at me. For the first time since I'd known him, he looked uncertain. His carefully constructed world was crumbling, and he didn't know how to stop it. "I want my lawyer," he said. "That's your right, but we're going to need you to come down to the station." "Am I under arrest?" "Not yet. We'd like to ask you some questions, but if you'd prefer to make this official—" He pulled out handcuffs. Caleb's face went red. "You can't do this. I know the captain. I know the mayor. I golf with half the department." "And that's part of the investigation." Morrison cut him off. "Why your wife's multiple reports of abuse were never properly investigated. Why certain officers seemed more interested in protecting you than protecting a victim." Officer Bryant, standing nearby, looked like he wanted to disappear through the floor. "This is harassment," Caleb said. "I'll have all your badges. You're welcome to try," Morrison said calmly. "But right now, you have 2 choices. Come voluntarily and answer questions, or I arrest you right here in front of your daughter for felony assault, and we do this the hard way." Hope was watching from the stairs, clutching her teddy bear. I went to her, blocking her view of her father. "It's okay, baby," I whispered. "Mommy's here." Caleb looked at me one last time. "This isn't over." "Yes," I said. "It is." They let him out in handcuffs. He'd refused to cooperate, so they'd arrested him. As they walked him past the news crews that had gathered outside, word travels fast, cameras flashed. The perfect image. Caleb Wright, successful businessman being arrested for domestic violence. That photo would be on every news site by noon. Patricia tried to leave with him, but Jennifer stopped her. "Mrs. Wright, you're not going anywhere. We have questions for you, too." The trial lasted 6 weeks. 6 weeks of testimony from Andrea, Rachel, me, and 3 other women who came forward after the news broke. Women Caleb had dated, intimidated, abused over the span of 15 years. The prosecution built an airtight case. They brought in the medical examiner who'd handled Caleb's college girlfriend's drowning death. After reviewing Andrea's testimony, he agreed to re-examine the case. The body was exhumed. New evidence suggested it wasn't an accident. Patricia was charged as an accessory. Her trial was still pending, but she'd already lost everything. The house, her reputation, her relationship with her son. Rachel, Caleb's sister, had cooperated fully with investigators in exchange for immunity. She testified about the family dynamics, about how Patricia had groomed Caleb into being an abuser, about the culture of control and violence she'd grown up in. On the final day of trial, I took the stand. Caleb's lawyer tried his best. He brought up my suicide attempt 8 years ago, trying to paint me as unstable. He questioned why I'd stayed if the abuse was so bad. He tried to suggest I was motivated by money, but Sarah Mitchell was better. "Mrs. Wright," she asked during redirect, "why did you finally decide to come forward?" "Because of my daughter," I said, looking at Hope sitting with my parents in the gallery. I realized I was teaching her that this was normal, that women should accept being hurt, that they should stay silent, and I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't let her grow up thinking love looks like violence. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on all counts: assault, false imprisonment, witness intimidation, and 3 counts of attempted murder, including a new charge for the college girlfriend after the exhumation revealed signs of drowning while conscious. The judge sentenced him to 35 years without possibility of parole for 15. Caleb showed no emotion when the verdict was read. He just stared at me with cold, dead eyes. But I didn't look away. I stared right back until they led him away in chains. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded us. "Mrs. Wright, how does it feel to get justice?" "It feels like I can breathe again," I said. "But this isn't just about me. This is about every woman who's been hurt and told she won't be believed. Every victim who's been gaslit into thinking it's her fault. Every person trapped in an abusive relationship who thinks there's no way out." What would you say to women in similar situations? Document everything, tell someone, reach out to domestic violence organizations. And most importantly, you deserve better. You deserve safety. You deserve love that doesn't hurt. Sarah stepped forward. "We're also announcing a new nonprofit today, the Right Survivors Foundation, founded by my client and the other women who came forward. We'll provide legal support, safe housing, and resources for domestic violence victims, particularly those whose abusers have wealth or connections that make escape difficult." Andrea and Rachel stood with me as we announced it. 3 women Caleb had tried to destroy, now united in making sure other women wouldn't suffer the same fate. After the press conference, I drove to my parents' house. Mira was waiting on the porch. She looked healthy now. The bruises had faded. She'd gained weight. The light was back in her eyes. Hope ran to her. "Mama!" Mira scooped her up, tears streaming down her face. "Hi, baby. Hi, my sweet girl." I'd been mommy for 3 months while Mira recovered in hiding. Now it was time for Hope to have her real mother back. "She asks about you every day," I told Mira. "She knows you were sick, that you needed to get better. She's been so brave." "Thank you," Mira whispered. "Thank you for giving me time to heal. Thank you for being strong when I couldn't be. Thank you for fighting for us." "That's what sisters do," I said. We sat on the porch while Hope played in the yard, finally free to be a normal kid. No more walking on eggshells. No more fear. "What happens now?" Mira asked. "Now you rebuild your life. You get therapy. You heal. You show Hope what strength looks like." "What about you?" I smiled. "I think I'll stick around Portland, help run the foundation, maybe go back to school. I've got 8 years of life to catch up on." "And the anger? The rage that got you locked up in the first place?" I thought about that. About the 14-year-old girl who'd broken a boy's nose for attacking her sister. About the woman I'd become in Riverwood. About the person who'd spent 3 months playing the role of a lifetime to take down a monster. "It's still there," I admitted, "but now I know how to use it, how to channel it into something productive instead of just destructive." "Rage isn't always bad, Mira. Sometimes it's exactly what you need to survive." She squeezed my hand. "We both survived, against all odds." "Yeah, we did." I'm writing this from the office of the Right Survivors Foundation. We've helped 73 women escape abusive situations in the past year. We've provided legal support, safe housing, therapy, job training, and financial assistance. Andrea runs the day-to-day operations. Rachel manages fundraising. Sarah is our legal director. And me? I'm the outreach coordinator, the person who talks to women who are where Mira was a year ago, terrified, trapped, convinced they can't escape. I tell them they can. I tell them they're stronger than they know. I tell them about my sister who survived 3 years of hell and came out the other side. Mira is thriving now. She's back in school, studying to be a counselor so she can help other survivors. Hope is in kindergarten, excelling in reading, making friends. She still has nightmares sometimes, but they're getting less frequent. We all have nightmares, but we also have hope. Caleb is in prison. Patricia is awaiting trial. Rachel has cut contact with both of them and is rebuilding her relationship with us. Officer Bryant was fired for failure to investigate domestic violence reports. 3 other officers are under investigation. The system is slowly changing because we made enough noise that they couldn't ignore us anymore. Last week, I got a letter from a woman in Seattle who'd seen our story. She'd been married to an abusive man for 6 years. She'd thought there was no way out. But our case gave her courage. She left him, took her kids, and is now safe in a shelter we connected her with. That's 74 women now. 74 lives changed because my sister showed up at my window at 2 a.m. covered in bruises. 74 families freed from violence because we decided to fight back. I keep that letter on my desk as a reminder. One person speaking up can create a ripple effect that changes countless lives. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to take that first step. Make that first call. Tell that first person. The rest will follow. If you're in an abusive relationship, please know this. It's not your fault. You don't deserve it, and you can escape. It won't be easy. The person hurting you has probably spent a long time making you think you're worthless, that no one will believe you, that you can't survive without them. They're lying. You are strong. You are valuable. You are worthy of love that doesn't hurt. Document everything: photos, recordings, medical records, a journal with dates and details. Back it up where your abuser can't access it. Tell someone, a friend, a family member, a domestic violence hotline. Organizations like ours exist to help. Use them. Make a safety plan. Where will you go? Who can you trust? What do you need to take with you? The National Domestic Violence Hotline can help you create one. And when you're ready to leave, do it safely. The most dangerous time in an abusive relationship is when the victim tries to escape. Don't tell your abuser you're leaving. Don't give them warning. Just go when they're not there to somewhere safe. You might be scared. That's normal. You might doubt yourself. That's normal too. But I promise you, life on the other side of abuse is worth it. Freedom is worth it. Peace is worth it. My sister didn't think she could escape. But she did, and now she's living proof that you can rebuild, recover, and thrive after abuse. You can too. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to our story. If it resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it. Drop your country in the comments. I want to know how far this message is reaching. And if you or someone you know needs help, the National Domestic Violence Hotline number is 1-800-799-7233. They're available 24/7. To everyone who survived abuse, you're not alone. Your story matters. Your life matters. And to those still trapped, hold on. Help is coming. Freedom is possible. I promise you it's possible. This is Maya signing off. Remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is refuse to accept less than you deserve. Stay strong, stay safe, and never, ever stop fighting for your right to live free from fear. For more stories of survival, strength, and justice, check out the other videos on this channel. Click that subscribe button so you don't miss new stories. And on your screen, you'll see 2 more videos I know you'll love. Pick one and keep watching. Thank you. And remember, you are powerful beyond measure. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise.